Marcus Thompson had always believed that hard work and kindness would open doors. But on that cold Tuesday morning in March, standing outside the gleaming corporate headquarters of Titan Industries with a rejection email still burning on his phone screen, he realized the world didn't always reward good people. What he didn't know was that the young woman he'd helped just 2 weeks earlier, the one he'd given his umbrella to in the pouring rain without a second thought, was about to change everything. She was Elena Harrington, and her father owned half the city. The cruel twist. The very act of kindness that should have been his golden ticket had become the reason he lost the opportunity of a lifetime. And the person who made sure of that was about to learn a lesson they'd never forget. If you love stories about justice, karma, and the sweet taste of revenge served ice cold, you're in the right place. Hit that subscribe button and join the Revenge Unleashed family. Drop a like if you believe good people deserve good things, and comment below telling us about a time when kindness came back around to bless you. Now, let me tell you exactly how Marcus went from rock bottom to the top floor. Marcus Thompson was a single dad doing everything humanly possible to give his 8-year-old daughter, Sophie, a better life than he'd had. He worked 2 jobs, coached her soccer team on weekends, and never missed a parent-teacher conference. His days started at 5 in the morning and ended well past midnight. He was exhausted, broke, and determined. When his outdated laptop finally died for good, he saved for 3 months to replace it, skipping lunches and walking instead of taking the bus. The job at Titan Industries was supposed to be his breakthrough. Senior project manager, 6-figure salary, benefits, stability. Everything Sophie needed. Everything Marcus had sacrificed for. He'd made it through 4 rounds of interviews, each one more promising than the last. The hiring manager, a sharp woman named Patricia Chen, had practically told him the job was his. "We'll be in touch by Friday," she'd said with a warm smile. "I have a really good feeling about this, Marcus." That Friday never came. Not the one he expected, anyway. 2 weeks before that devastating rejection, Marcus had been rushing to an interview prep session at the public library when the sky opened up. Rain hammered down in sheets, the kind of downpour that turned streets into rivers in minutes. He was already soaked, his only interview suit clinging to his skin, when he saw her. A young woman, maybe 25, standing under a bus stop shelter that offered almost no protection. She was crying, mascara running down her cheeks, her designer clothes completely drenched. Her phone was dead, and she looked absolutely lost. Marcus didn't hesitate. He walked over and offered her his umbrella. It was cheap, one of those $5 bodega specials, but it was all he had. "Take it," he said. "You need it more than I do." She looked up at him, surprised. "But you'll get soaked." "I'm already soaked," Marcus laughed. "Plus, I'm heading inside anyway." "Really, take it." They talked for a few minutes while they waited for her ride. Her name was Elena, she said. She'd just had the worst day, her car had broken down, and she'd realized who her real friends were when none of them answered her calls. Marcus told her that sometimes the worst days lead to the best changes. He told her about Sophie, about his interviews, about believing that things work out for people who keep pushing forward. When a black town car pulled up, Elena handed him a business card. "You seem like exactly the kind of person who deserves good things," she said. "If you ever need anything, call me." Marcus pocketed the card without really looking at it and forgot about the encounter entirely. He had an interview to prepare for. What Marcus didn't know was that Elena was Elena Harrington, daughter of Robert Harrington, the billionaire founder of Harrington Enterprises. And she didn't just remember his kindness. She'd been so moved by it that she'd mentioned him to her father, who mentioned him to his business partner, who happened to sit on the board of Titan Industries. A recommendation was made. Phone calls were placed. Marcus's application, which had been strong but not outstanding among hundreds of candidates, suddenly got flagged for special attention. Patricia Chen was told that this Marcus Thompson character came highly recommended from someone very important. They should give him serious consideration. Everything was falling into place. Until Derek Paulson got involved. Derek was Patricia's assistant, a bitter 32-year-old man who'd been passed over for promotion 3 times. He had a cousin who'd also applied for the senior project manager position, a cousin who was far less qualified than Marcus but who shared Derek's last name and Derek's sense of entitlement. When Derek overheard Patricia praising Marcus's final interview, something inside him curdled. He started digging. It didn't take much. A few social media searches, some creative Googling, and Derek found what he was looking for. Photos from the bus stop that rainy afternoon. Someone had snapped a picture of Marcus and Elena talking, posted it online with a caption about cute random encounters in the rain. Derek recognized Elena immediately. Everyone in their industry knew the Harrington family. But Derek twisted the narrative in his mind until it fit his purposes. He went to Patricia with a concerned expression and a printed screenshot. "I think you should see this," he said. "I hate to be the one to bring it to your attention, but I did some background checking on Marcus Thompson." Patricia looked at the photo, confused. "Okay. He helped someone with an umbrella." "That's Elena Harrington," Derek said carefully. "And I have reason to believe Marcus knew exactly who she was. Look at the timeline. This encounter happened right before his application suddenly got flagged from the board level. I think he engineered this meeting to manipulate his way into consideration for the job. It's opportunistic. Dishonest." Patricia frowned. She prided herself on reading people, and everything about Marcus had seemed genuine. But Derek was persistent. He manufactured doubt with the skill of a seasoned manipulator. "I'm not saying he's a bad person," Derek continued. "But do we want someone on our team who networks through deception? Who uses people? I just think you should know what kind of character we might be bringing into our culture." The seed was planted. Patricia, who had corporate politics to navigate and her own reputation to protect, started second-guessing her instincts. By Monday, she'd convinced herself that hiring Marcus would be a risk. By Tuesday, the rejection email was sent. Marcus read it 3 times, each word a hammer blow. "We've decided to move forward with another candidate whose qualifications more closely align with our current needs." Standard corporate language. No explanation. No closure. He walked to a park bench and sat down, staring at nothing. Sophie needed new shoes. Rent was due in a week. His car was making a terrible noise he couldn't afford to fix. He'd been so certain this was his chance. That's when he remembered the business card. He pulled out his wallet and found it, still tucked behind his debit card. Elena Harrington, it read. Executive Director, Harrington Philanthropic Foundation. There was a personal cell number written in elegant script on the back. Marcus stared at it for a long time. He wasn't the kind of man to call in favors or use connections. But something about the rejection felt wrong. Not just disappointing, but actually wrong. He decided to call, not to ask for anything, but just to understand. Elena answered on the second ring. "Marcus. I was hoping you'd call. How did your interview go?" "It didn't," Marcus said quietly. Then the whole story spilled out. The promising interviews, the sudden rejection, the confusion. He didn't mention his suspicions, just the facts. Elena went very quiet. "Marcus, stay right where you are. I'm going to call you back in 20 minutes. What happened next moved with the speed and precision of a military operation. Elena called her father. Robert Harrington called his business partner on the Titan Industries board. That board member called Titan's CEO. The CEO called Patricia Chen and asked for the file on Marcus Thompson and an explanation for why a candidate who came with a personal recommendation from the Harrington family had been rejected. Patricia, suddenly sweating, called Derek into her office. "Tell me everything about your concerns regarding Marcus Thompson." Under pressure from the CEO himself, Derek's story started to crumble. His evidence was thin. His logic was full of holes. And when they pulled the interview recordings and notes, it became crystal clear that Marcus had never mentioned knowing anyone connected to the company, never name-dropped, never acted as anything other than a genuine, qualified candidate. The CEO dug deeper. Within hours, they discovered Derek's cousin's application. They found emails between Derek and his cousin strategizing about the position. They uncovered Derek's history of undermining candidates who threatened his preferred choices. Derek was fired that same day. But Marcus didn't know any of this yet. He just knew that Elena called him back and asked him to come to an address downtown. When he arrived, he found himself in a sleek conference room at Harrington Enterprises with Elena, her father Robert, and Patricia Chen, who looked like she wanted to disappear into her chair. Robert Harrington stood and shook Marcus's hand firmly. "Mr. Thompson, my daughter told me what you did for her. Not just the umbrella, though that was kind. But you talked to her like a human being when she was at her lowest point. You shared your own struggles. You reminded her why we built our companies in the first place, to create opportunities for good people who work hard." He gestured to Patricia. It's come to my attention that you were treated unfairly in the hiring process at Titan Industries. That ends today. Patricia stepped forward, her professional mask firmly in place. Marcus, I owe you an apology. I allowed myself to be manipulated by false information. The job is yours if you still want it. Along with a formal apology from our company and a signing bonus to compensate for this extraordinarily unprofessional situation. Marcus could barely process what he was hearing. The job. The apology. The justice of it all. But Robert wasn't finished. I'd also like to offer you something else. A position here at Harrington Enterprises, should you prefer it. We're expanding our community development division, and frankly, we need people who understand what real struggle looks like. People who help strangers in the rain without expecting anything in return. Marcus looked at Elena, who was smiling. He thought about Sophie, about the shoes she needed, about the stability he'd been chasing. He thought about Derek, whose cruelty had backfired so spectacularly. He thought about every time he'd chosen kindness even when it cost him something. I'd like to hear more about both opportunities, Marcus said finally. But first, I need to pick up my daughter from school. She's the reason I do any of this. Robert laughed, a warm, genuine sound. A man who prioritizes his child. Elena, I like him even more now. Marcus, take your time. Both offers stand. Go get your daughter. Come back when you're ready. 3 months later, Marcus started his new position as Director of Community Outreach at Harrington Enterprises. The pay was better than the Titan job would have been. The mission aligned with his values. And he had the backing of one of the most powerful families in the city. Sophie got her new shoes. And a college fund. And a father who came home at reasonable hours, who was less stressed, who proved to her that good things really do happen to good people. As for Derek Paulson, his firing came with a reference that made finding new work nearly impossible in their industry. Word spread about what he'd done, how he'd tried to sabotage a good man for petty reasons. His cousin never got the job either. Sometimes revenge isn't something you plan. Sometimes it's just the natural consequence of your own actions catching up with you. Marcus kept that cheap umbrella in his office as a reminder. Not of what he gained, but of what he'd always known. That how you treat people matters. That kindness is never wasted. That the smallest gesture can change everything, even when you never see it coming. The world doesn't always reward good people immediately. But sometimes, when you least expect it, the universe keeps score. And the people who try to tear down others to lift themselves up. They're building their own gallows one selfish act at a time. Justice isn't always loud. Sometimes it's as quiet as a phone call, as simple as the truth coming to light, as powerful as good people deciding they've had enough of the cruel ones winning.